Okay, welcome. So the first video we talked about one-point perspective. So if you remember, just a quick review, 1 point, always started with a horizon line. The horizon line separates sky from earth, begins the illusion of dimensionality with 1 point perspective. Established a point. Wherever that point is, you can place an object in 1 point perspective. Your only viewpoint is to look at one of the flat planes facing you. You draw the shape first, you connect from the corners back to the single vanishing point. So that's 1 point in a very quick abbreviation. So now we're going to move to 2 points. So quickly in the Renaissance, they exhausted the ability of 1 point to give them enough illusion. Because what happened is the whole world ended up having to be a chessboard if you're doing 1 point perspective. So in 2 points, same thing, you start with a horizon line. The horizon line separates sky and earth. The horizon line also can be called eye level. So eye level and horizon line are synonyms. If you're looking at a book or you're taking another class and somebody talks about eye level, it's exactly the same as talking about horizon line. With 2 point perspective, the big difference is 1 point perspective. If I'm looking at this box, I have to have it that it is facing me with one of its planar sides parallel to my face or perpendicular to my viewing plane. So in 2 point perspective, you're going to actually have the object with a corner facing you in any rotation where you can see the corner. So that's the big difference with 2 point perspective. Since in 1 point perspective, the side of a shape facing you equals a shape, in 2 point perspective, with the corner facing you, the starting point is a line which becomes that corner. So the first thing I'm going to do is, in this case, for our theoretical just how-to, I'm going to put a point at either end of our horizon line, at the far end of the page. In a later video, I'll show you how you would actually do this if you're on site and working from observation. So we're not so much working from observation as doing a tutorial. So I put vanishing point here, vanishing point there. So I've got a right and a left vanishing point. Then I'm going to put a single line. That single line equals the corner that is facing me. In 2 point perspective, I'm going to take the top and the bottom of that line. This is all based on optical perception, meaning I'm looking at what it is. I'm not drafting, I've not converted this to scale. Instead, I'm just looking and I'm observing. So I've said that's about how big this box that I'm going to draw. And I go from that top point back to both of my vanishing points, both right and left. I'm freehanding. You can lay a ruler if that makes you more comfortable. You'll also get a little bit more accuracy. So by projecting towards both vanishing points from this single line which equal to corner, you can now see that we have one plane, 2 planes receding back, almost like an endless fence somewhere on a prairie. Since we're basing this on a box or a shape we're looking at, you can see that I have distance that goes on both of those sides. So I'm going to look and I'm going to just travel back one of those y-axes and I'm going to make a decision based on perception that it looks like it ends about there. In 2 point perspective, all of my verticals are parallel. So here's my front corner. I just made a point. I have a parallel vertical. That gives me my back. At this point, I've defined 4 sides of one plane. So in 2 point perspective, you always note I started with a corner and I went back that direction. So corner went back there, bottom went back there. When I get to the back point, that means I'm going to change direction. Since I was going one way, I'm going to go the opposite to my opposite vanishing points now. So I'm going to go from here and project across, and from here and project across to my other vanishing point. And I'm freehanding. So again, if it makes you more comfortable, you could be doing this using a straight edge. Whatever makes you more comfortable, I'm freehanding. So now I've just taken a line from the top top back and the bottom back going towards the opposite vanishing point. I'm going to come back to my front, the first line I began with, that front corner, and I'm going to go the other direction looking at my box, looking at my model, and I'm going to say it looks like it's longer, so I'm going to say it ends there based on perception. Once again, a parallel vertical, parallel to the front. Back corner, I now have two sides fully articulated. So plane, plane. I know that from the first top I went one direction to get this side, and I changed direction towards the opposite vanishing point. So now, since I just added another dimension, I went this way, I hit this corner, so I'm going to change direction to the opposite vanishing point from both top and from bottom. And this is where, if you're using a straight edge, you'll probably get a little bit more accurate. So I'm just looking, and I could see that. So I'm going to take where this line and this line intersect in the back, and I'm going to look at the bottom, and I'm going to take where this line and this line intersect, and hopefully I freehanded, they didn't exactly line up. But now I'm going to come through and I'm going to just darken those lines, which would be the lines I would want. And with two-point perspective, with any perspective, you do a lot of erasing. I'll make this a box that's open on the top. So that means this side would be solid and this side would be solid. So I'd erase out those extra guidelines. There's my interior corner. If I want to add some value, some shadow, and do it again on this side lightly, you can see how that dimensional illusion starts to happen. So let's just do this same process one more time. So I'm going to use different vanishing points. I have two vanishing points on either end, but I want to do another drawing, so I'm going to pull a vanishing point over a little bit closer to me, and then I'm going to use the other one that was already there. So these are going to become my two vanishing points. We're going to put another object down here. So I'm going to start with a line, just like we did before. I'm going to go from the top towards each of those vanishing points. This time I'll use a straight edge. Won't be quite as fudgy. So I went from the top and the bottom to each of the right and the left vanishing point. And you notice I went right through the other drawing. If I was doing multiple objects, I would have done that much lighter, or lifted my pencil, for example, or you just erase. So I've got these two sides, and I know that I need to travel. I'm going to go along this top angle. I'm going to look at the object that is in front of me, and I'm going to say it looks like it goes to about right there. And I'm going to drop a parallel back corner. So now I have one side, and I was going from here this direction, here same direction. So when I get to the back corners, I'm going to change direction and go the opposite way. Use my ruler for this again, just to try to see if this will turn out a tad more accurate than my freehand version did. So then I'm going to come back to my starting point, that front corner. So from that front corner, I'm going to go the opposite direction. I'm looking at this shape in front of me, and I see it's a longer side based on what I'm looking at. So I come to that back corner, I make a parallel to my front, so my verticals are always parallel. At this point I have one side described and I have another side described. I have the beginning of this back edge because I went from the front this direction and then I changed and went the opposite. So now I went from the front to this back long corner, and I'm going to change direction, go up to the opposite again. So that's the big thing. Just remember, whichever direction you're going, when you hit a change of plane, a corner, you're going to reverse to the other vanishing point. And I'm doing these in stronger lines than I might be doing if this was my own sketch, because I want them to show up for here. In reality, I'd probably be doing these very lightly. So now I find that back corner. Hopefully when I drop a parallel vertical, it does come down to where the intersection of those other lines would be. Let's change this one. I'm going to open it, but I'll open it from a side instead. So I'm going to darken the lines that I would want. I'm going to take this end off so I'd be able to see in. So if I darken those lines and erase out what wouldn't show up, there would be my basic shape. And if I cast a shadow inside to help that illusion, and I'm even using hatch lines that follow the approximate direction of the vanishing points. So by just doing that, once again, I've sort of enhanced that illusion of two-point perspective with a corner facing towards me and this illusion of dimensionality going back towards one of the two vanishing points. So there's your basic 2-point. Next video we're going to talk about how you can turn 1 point and 2 point in one drawing into much more complex shapes.